Hi, this is Teresa Momber, and here's a look at the card I'll show you how to create in today's video. I've started by trimming white cardstock to 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches, and I'm placing a circle that'll be a mask for my moon near the top, and I've got that held in place using repositionable tape. And now I've begun sponging using Distress Oxide ink, and I'm using the Faded Jeans color for this step. You can see I'm being careful to tap off excess ink onto scratch paper to start, and then working my way onto the cardstock, either starting with that sponge dauber on the mask or off the edge of the cardstock, and then working my way onto the cardstock. And here I'm switching to Distress Oxide Seedless Preserves ink, and I'm just going to sponge near the very top of the cardstock with this color. Next, you'll want to remove the mask, and then just, if there's any tape residue, brush that away. And I'm using Distress Oxide Black Soot ink, but I'm tapping off as much ink as I can get onto scratch paper because I just want a hint of grayness on the moon. Now I'll ink up the tree image from the Peaceful Holidays stamp set from Gina K Designs using the same Distress Oxide Black Soot ink pad. But I'm stamping it off onto scratch paper first, and then I'll stamp it onto my cardstock. And this image is a little narrower than my cardstock, so I'm just going to stamp it twice, offsetting it to the right and then to the left. I want to create just a hint of the look of snowbanks, so I'm going to cut a wavy line on sticky notes and then place that onto my cardstock. Then I'll sponge very lightly. I'm just going to use the same sponge dauber with the black soot on it, but not re-ink it, and make sure there's barely any ink, and then just sponge very lightly over that mask. Next, I'll reposition that mask a few more times and sponge a few more snowbanks. Ordinarily, when I'm sponging snowbanks, I would have the mask turned around so that the shading was behind the snowbank and the light was reflecting off the top of the snowbank. I just messed up in this case and I decided not to scrap the project and just go with it. But if you decide to recreate this project, you might want to try it the other way. I also decided to add in a bit of a horizon line behind my tree line, so I'm using that same mask and adding just a little touch of that blue ink again. I didn't ink up the sponge dauber over again, I just used the residual ink that was on the dauber. Next, I'm stamping the Silhouette Dove image, also from the Peaceful Holidays stamp set, using Versafine Onyx Black ink. I'll also stamp one of the deer images from the Peaceful Holidays stamp set using the Versafine Onyx Black ink. I'd like to add some shadows to my scene, so I'm using a 50% cool gray Prismacolor pencil, and I'm just going to draw in a bit of a shadow below the deer, and then I'm also going to do some shading below the trees. And then After I get a little shading under the base of each tree, I'm going to extend a line off at a bit of an angle, and then after I get those lines in, I'll just kind of fill in a tiny bit to indicate where the foliage is. But I'm not really doing much. This is really just the hint of shadows. Now for the sentiment, which is also from the Peaceful Holidays stamp set. I'm going to use Versafine Onyx Black ink once again. To assemble the card, I'm adhering the image layer to a piece of black onyx cardstock that I've trimmed slightly larger. And then I'll adhere those pieces to a piece of Moonlit fog cardstock, once again trimmed a little larger than the other two pieces. And then all of that will go onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white card base. And that completes today's video. Thanks for watching.